Trick or treat. Okay, I'll see myself out. Phasmophobia, another horror game that falls into the trope of, hey, there is a clearly haunted house, let's go inside. In this game, however, just like with my ex, up to 4 people may enter at the same time, and there is always a token guy. This is because you are hired to find the ghost. You park the Scooby van, you get your tools, and try to figure out which flavor of Casper lives here.
Hi. Oh, you're a big boy. Hi, you're so cute. What's your name? What's your name?
It's right there.
Oh, hi. Vino Moose. Oh, hi, Vino Moose.
During your stay, you must manage your sanity, as witnessing certain events and spending time in the darkness lowers it. Huh, they straight up copied this one, did they? You may utilize medicine to restore it. You then mark the evidence and work out if Moaning Myrtle or Bloody Mary is currently helping you get retirement benefits. Luckily, being alive is not a requirement for entering your last guess, and you get a fraction of the money. This is relevant as at the start, you'll very likely be in one of 2 states. A. Frightened, hiding in a corner, or B. Dead. Let's talk about the ghosts and the scary elements first. Horror in this game is hard to put into words, but the best way to describe it is living with a cockroach on your back. It is highly inconvenient, creepy, and one move away from landing in a terrible situation. Cult classics such as Amnesia understood the benefit of only revealing your monster on rare occasions and limiting the time and knowledge the player has with the creature. Here, the main purpose is figuring it out, and even after that, I'm still scared. Let's break it down a bit. Firstly, it is usually safe at the start. The ghost cannot enter kill mode, aka a hunt. That is when the ghost materializes and starts roaming around. If it sees you, it chases you. If it catches you, you're dead. Also, you cannot run out of the house as the door is locked for the duration. So this is how American feels during Black Friday. Even when not actively trying to drastically shorten your lifetime, it is still there. It switches lights, it manifests and roams around. And it really takes a while for you to figure out when it just shows up for a giggle or to seal the deal. You might think that once you learn the sounds for hunt start, the way light switches work, and sanity management, all is well. You know when you're safe, and that is it. Well, yes, but actually no. There are different ghost types with different behaviors. This guy can hunt at any point, and even can hunt twice back to back. There's nothing worse than entering a house and instantly getting hunted. Where's the ghosts? Where are the hiding spots? Why did my friend? Normally, you go and find a hiding spot in the safe time you have. During hunts, you enter and you hold onto that door for dear life. Because, as you will quickly learn, the ghost can randomly open it. However, there's a certain ghost that is very fast and always knows your location. Its weakness is that once it sees you, it slows down considerably. However, that means you must listen very carefully and make a gamble. If it is that type of ghost, you must exit and start running circles around it. However, if you are wrong,
Uh-oh, Richard.
there is more with the quiet myling, the aging fae, the twins, and the mimic. Yeah, he does exactly what he sounds like. He copies another ghost's hunt behaviors and abilities at random intervals. By the sheer fact that this exists, you'll always second guess your decisions.
Ну ще йде.
Is he though?
Abilities, though, are not the only thing it copies. Let's talk evidence. Firstly, you need to find and keep track of the room the ghost resides in. This can either be done through detecting its activity, hearing through the microphones, or or the old reliable thermostat. Then there's some tools to prevent hunts or defend yourself. A crucifix, which will get burned, preventing a hunt, or smudges, which, once lit, will stun the ghost should you collide with its model. Short note here, having the only method of protection rely on running into the ghost, which usually is something you are trying to avoid at all costs, is just diabolical. The last method of self-defense is reaching behind you, grabbing a handful of shit, and throwing it at the ghost. Where do you get the manure from? Do not worry, it will be there. Then you check evidence. Each type of ghost has 3 of them associated with it. Some leave footprints, some like keeping a journal, while others are more talkative.
I'm so lonely.
Last thing to note is that there is a progression system. Tools start out looking like a baby monitor. However, eventually you unlock more advanced equipment.
Bravo 6. Going dark.
There's also a random cursed position on each map. The summoning circle, which does what you'd expect. The luring music box, or the haunted mirror, which helps you find the ghost room. The Ouija board, through which you can ask questions. How old are you? Well, I guess I'm officially a YouTuber now.
FBI, open up!
All these are well designed and have drawbacks as well. For example, the tarot card effects are random and range from extra sanity all the way to sudden death. The monkey paw, besides having to actually watch the unsettling animations, grants wishes, such as putting the ghost to sleep, with the drawback of starting a hunt when it wakes up. All is well, except on higher difficulties, you are limited to only one evidence type and no cursed object. In order to narrow it down, you're going to have to pay attention to its behavior. You might even be forced to trigger hunts merely to gather info. This is where the cracks start showing. Let me tell you a story. Once we've mastered the smaller maps, we chose to take on a bigger one. Introducing the prison. Like all of our first times, locating and accessing the small hole that is the entrance was an issue. Yeah, no thank you. I'd rather get out... Oh. Oh no, a demon. We just sat there for the hunt duration, alone, afraid, in the dark, with no sound, hoping the ghost does not find us. And it did not, because on bigger maps, there is so much ground to cover, it's unlikely for it to actually find you, and incredibly tedious for you to find it. This was the moment we peeked behind the curtain, and the magic dissipated. Sure, the game still scares me from time to time, even more so after long breaks. Alas, nothing is forever, not even the closing down of certain institutions. For Phasmophobia, though, this was after 50 or 60 hours of game time. But you know when you are safe now, you know how to juke the phantom around the table like you would your mom trying to beat you with a flip-flop. Honestly, no evidence runs where you are forced to hope for the ghost to actually do something are not what I signed up for. Worse, certain ghosts have distinct behaviors during hunts, like Obake's, which changes their ghost skin faster than Michael Jackson. However, some have no defining features, and you have to use a tool to track whether it had 90 or 180 seconds between hunts. When you have to fill in an Excel spreadsheet, the horror element is mostly gone. The way you get there is also suboptimal. Online tools and wikis are pretty much a requirement by now. How else would I know this ghost has a 20 or 25 seconds cooldown? I don't know if anyone will actually watch this video, but if any developer stumbles upon this, give us some challenge missions. For example, one would require you to survive a 1-minute hunt from a Diogen. And if you do so, you unlock all relevant information for it. There needs to be a better way to unlock and convey information to the players outside of the wiki. Some people here start min-maxing and do no light, no sanity, no life, no sprint runs, and are more familiar with the ghosts than their actual family members, where you can guess if it is your mother or father based on how loudly they walk. But it feels like the game is over for me. Being in Phasmophobia should be like being in Saudi Arabia, afraid to come out of the closet. I prefer the claustrophobia of smaller houses, and I still come back when new maps and big patches drop, or for events. I still enjoy it, but in smaller bursts. What the Let's talk about patches and its current state. I do not really like reviewing EA games of either definition. However, this game has been in development since 2018. Not exactly Star Citizen numbers, but 7 years are enough for me. The game is in a decent state, kind of. There are a lot of technical issues. Firstly, I am tired of the brightness changing and resetting every time I open this game. Yes, I will play at 250% because I am very scared. I appreciate the metric versus hamburgers settings, although nowadays even Americans are exposed from an early age to up to 9 millimeters. Where was I? Yeah, bugs. There used to be a lot of gameplay issues, however, most seems to have been fixed. There's just a lot of visual issues now.
ثلاث كاميرا
Gelatinę.
Oj. Gelatinę mână. Gelatinę. Ah, what? S-a buguit.
E la mine.
Dă-i pe jos. Bro.
The textures and assets are varied, different ghost models, different cool maps. They come together well and they hold up as long as you do not look too close. The only major issue here is that there is only one animation for when the ghost catches and ends you, which can best be described as
Open your eyes so I can face on them.
There's also a VR version, of which I have little footage of, as I had to travel to a friend's house to play, a house from which I am now banned for repainting it in brown. The horror is maximized here, but the controls feel awkward. However, I am not sure whether this is cause of my inexperience or due to the shaking. The audio, however, is the star of the show. Whispering, moving, and all in between.
The fucking photos, they're not memories.
Oh
you
my
have to
god,
fucking
you just
rotate
finished.
it.
Oh my god, you just finished.
Bro, nu există o...
When I first heard the audio patch, I felt like a Swiftie hearing jazz for the first time. These patches usually contain mechanics revamps, new maps, or other interesting stuff worth returning to. For example, one of them changed the way bonus evidence works. You can now record, photograph, or film certain interactions. I may have spent too much time doing the Lords of the Fallen review, but are we being paid for feet pics right now? The game will probably continue to change, usually for the better. It still requires some polish though, as it being 35 gigabytes and seeing my friends take 5 business days to load is slightly annoying. Oof. Fuck. Oh yeah, friends. Okay, so to begin with, this game actually works with randoms. There are almost always lobbies available for pretty much all difficulties, and playing with them is a blast. Hearing a German guy cry and sit in the attic, hiding from a white and evil entity is something to behold. These moments are made possible through the local and radio chat in the game. Radio works regardless of distance, but can be interrupted by certain events, and both of these will attract the ghost if used within a certain distance of it. So, you best be silent while hiding and hope your friend does not have some active electronics to hide. Whoever you play with, I'm sure you'll find a type of player similar to my friends. Here are some examples. The coward, who maximizes his time outside the house. The gambler, who cannot stop himself from drawing every single tarot card for no reason. The brothers, who share the same mother and brain cell. The victim, who always gets targeted by the ghost. The troll, who will close the door on you. The traumatized one, who pretends he's Santa Claus, bringing toys and food to an orphan child, as he cannot handle the pressure of reality. The panicked one, who always throws the smudge instead of lighting it and stunning the ghost. The unlucky, who now always carries a crucifix with him because the ghost spawned on top of him that one time. The dead one that just throws stuff around to mess with you. And finally, the dumb mastermind who just sits in the van and coordinates through the cameras. Yeah, the van has ways to track and see through the player cameras as well as the fixed ones. It shows sensors and microphones placed, and while all this is nice and all, outside of onboarding a newer player, it does not beat having boots on the floor. Overall, Phasmophobia is a pioneer of co-op horror games of the same level Amnesia was for single player. The constant presence of the ghost and the paradoxical task of having to interact with it will make you feel constant and crippling fear. The core gameplay loop is well done, and there is enough variation and randomness to always feel fresh. The multiplayer lobby and the design makes finding random people to play with not only easier, but feasible. Friends are optional. After 60 or so hours, you'll most likely be done with being afraid and understand the game well enough that now you merely execute an optimized strategy to find the ghost. Some people enjoy this, turning the speedruns or challenge modes. For me, however, the game stopped there. I still revisit it every now and then when my memory of the game fades or when fresh content arrives, changing rules or adding new maps. Honestly, for $20 or 10 during sales, I feel I got my money's worth and more. I really cannot wait to see how the finished product will look like.